I would like to share with all of you a very special tribute to Bill. 25 years ago, a Chinese philosopher wrote that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. My journey through life with my fabulous husband Bill began 58 years ago with a single splash. I was spending the weekend at the Glenmere and fell into the lake. A tall, handsome stranger rescued me and then complained he got a cramp in his leg. But I will never forget how he looked when he said, with a grin, it would be a shame if I had drowned because I forgot to return a book to the library. A year later, I married the man who made me laugh on that warm summer day. And through all of our wonderful and exciting years, we have laughed together, cried together, worked together, and created a life that with each passing year has become stronger and more precious than anything I could have ever dreamed of. You see, I married a man who became a legend in his own lifetime, who is as vibrant, honest, loving, and fun as he was 58 years ago. How do I pay tribute to my wonderful husband? How do I describe a life of such extraordinary achievement in a few words? I suppose it is best to begin at the beginning. Today, the whole country is talking about immigration. Well, what many of you may not know is that the Modell family booked passage on the Mayflower in 1620. But when they found that they did not have a kosher kitchen, they postponed their trip and arrived at Ellis Island 266 years later. Friday the 13th is my lucky day because my Bill was born 85 years ago on Friday the 13th in May 1921. His father, Henry, was the son of Morris, the founder of Modell's. Henry served in the Army during World War I and was in the 307th Battalion of the 77th Division, the battalion that fought through German lines and rescued the now famous Lost Battalion in the Oregon forest. After the war, Henry focused his energies on building Modell's. At the height of the Great Depression, he expanded Modell's to 6 stores and gained a reputation for demanding excellence. The first store was located on Cortlandt Street and West Street. The site was taken over to make room for the World Trade Center. At the age of 9, Bill decided to go his own way and become financially independent. Unbeknownst to his parents, he became the neighborhood's banana boy. He convinced Tony, the fruit man, to let him deliver the bananas at no cost to him, working only for tips. Bill increased sales by suggesting that Tony give his customers the week's leftover produce at sacrifice prices. Tony was so successful that Bill told me that he later bought the A&P. Bill's career, however, came to an abrupt end when he delivered bananas to a house where his mother Rose was playing bridge with her friends. Rose was shocked when she discovered the neighborhood's banana boy was none other than her son Bill. 44 years later, the banana boy was inducted into the National Sporting Goods Hall of Fame by President Bush. A year later, he was named the National Entrepreneur of the Year. And 3 years later, he received the Cranes All-Star Award and then was inducted into the Retail Hall of Fame. Over the years, he bought DeVeger's, Herman's, Polly Brothers chain in Philadelphia. He also launched the first discount store in the Northeast, Modell's Shoppers World, which he later sold to Home Depot. And Modell Sporting Goods expanded from 6 stores in New York City to a regional chain of 129 stores across the eastern seaboard. Modell's is now the largest privately owned sporting goods chain in the country. The next frontier is already unfolding with Bill's involvement in a joint venture with Tishman Speyer and Jerry Cohen in Long Island City.
Papa Henry always wanted Dad to go to West Point. When Bill was 9 years old, his parents had him enrolled in the Peekskill Military Academy. His parents were thrilled when they went to visit him at the school and found him guarding the main headquarters in full dressed uniform, the proud image of a perfect young man. Of course, their pride was dampened when they learned that Bill was actually on a punishment assignment. You see, when he had the chicken pox, he longed for milk and left the infirmary to visit a nearby milk farm. He may have satisfied his thirst, but also contaminated hundreds of gallons of milk, which had to be destroyed. Many years later, Bill fondly recalled his days at the military school and lined up all of our kids and teach them how to salute him. Whenever he saw them, he'd give them a jaunty salute and laugh as they snapped to attention to return his salute. Bill served in the Army's 9th Air Corps and was stationed in Iceland, England, France, and Germany during World War II. When a boyhood friend of his was wounded, Bill managed to get a flight to Germany just to see him. Only relatives were allowed to see the wounded in the hospital. Undeterred, Bill presented his identification papers to a nurse and said that he'd come to see his brother, Bobby Barreto. "But your last name is Modell," the nurses pointed out. With a straight face, Bill explained that he and Bobby had the same mother but different fathers and convinced the nurse to let him see his brother Bobby.
62 years ago, I wrote a poem in honor of my brother Bill's 23rd birthday. The year was 1944. May 13th, one sunny morn, to the Modells a boy was born. That 'twas a male, they sure were glad. He looks just like me, quote both Mom and Dad. And in his crib, so quiet and restin', little did they dream what fate would destine, that 23 years hence would find their son thousands of miles away, shouldering a gun. His trials and tribulations as a youth were many. To keep him out of trouble cost his dad a pretty penny. First there were fistfights and reports from all his teachers. Next it was hooky to watch baseball in the bleachers. There were military academies to change this lion to a mouse. But the only change that Billy made was from the dorm to the old guardhouse. Our home, a zoo it more resembled, for in it Bill had well assembled one dog, one turtle, canaries, and a lizard. When it came to collecting pets, my brother was a wizard. To all the mutts on 14th Street, Billy was their saint, for he bathed and fed each and every one, making them what they ain't. But the devil was soon to shed his horns, much to his parents' delight, and from Peck's bad boy, he developed into a handsome, chivalrous knight. And so to you, Bill, from Mom, Dad, and Sis, hurry back the way you left, so together we'll reminisce.
By the time I met Bill, he was working in Modell's as the assistant manager of the 42nd Street store. I was working on my PhD at Columbia University Teachers College at night and teaching school during the day. I began dating Bill 4 days after I fell into the lake. On one of our first dates, Bill took me to Ebbets Field to see a Brooklyn Dodger game. When he picked me up, I was wearing my new Silver Fox jacket. I remember how he asked, "Isn't this jacket a little too dressy for a ball game?" I immediately took it off and he put it in the trunk of his car, and you know, I never saw that jacket again. One day, my father, who was a brilliant attorney, asked me who was the young man I was seeing so often. When I said Bill Modell, he asked, "Is he any relation to